Word, words are hard. Word, words are hard. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's about noon here. EST. Here at the Deconstruction Zone with your favorite host, Second Stories. Before I start sharing the live out and inviting some of our usual guests, mutuals and friends to the show tonight. What's going on, Stacy? Um, I do a little intro for whatever the fuck. Uh, but yeah, this is gonna be potentially my most consistent topic. I probably won't change it for a bit. Uh, because you know, I think it's important to have this particular conversation and in an effort to do the work myself. I'm gonna host the conversations that I want to have if no one else is doing that, right? So today I wanted to talk about abolition, and let me change up uh the back the panel layout real quick. Uh, yeah, there we go. Per boom, bam, boom. All right, now we can see the whole background, and you can uh say and or do what you want. All right. So before I start taking guests, I want to make sure that everybody understands I'm not debating you on your lack of information. I'm not debating people on anything really. I just want you to answer the questions. If you come on the panel asking me questions without one, introducing yourself, or two, answering any of the previously stated questions, I will ignore you and most likely remove you from the panel. All right, now that the the simple rules have been stated, all right, everybody, feel free to put in a request, and I will I'll let you up. I don't have any like goals or anything like that because I feel like for me personally on my platform, asking people to do things is reductive and redundant. Because quite literally, I once ran a social experiment on my platform where I would tell people, you know, that they can come on the panel, right? And when the panel is full, I shut down the comments, and then I only talk to the people on the panel, right? Well, the funny thing is the people in the comments never tapped the screen, but they never left the stream, right? They didn't tap the screen to get the likes moving, right? So they can continue being part of the conversation, right? And the people on the panel did not advocate for them, right? Until prompted, right? Which means, right, that nobody actually cares, which is great, which means I don't have to care either. Right, but I what I do care about is abolition, right? I want to have a conversation with people who are abolitionists, people who don't know what abolition is, or people who are like anti-abolition. I don't know. How can you be anti-abolition? I want to hear how you could be anti-abolition. But yes, please put your request in. I want to hear from you. This is a space where you get to talk. People, please remember, a lot of people, right, don't give you a platform to speak on. I'm giving you that here right now today. So yeah, please put a request in. I'd like to hear from people. And I guess I'll share my 2 cents about abolition before the conversation gets going. So abolition really is the concept around um, changing the way things work from the ground, um, or let's say from the ground, from changing the basic essence of things. All right, we talk about the abolition of slavery in America, which I personally think was an incomplete process. Um, and how we went from chattel slavery in America to what we call the American prison industrial complex, where a lot of people are currently being enslaved. Fun fact, slavery never stopped in America. You can say maybe it's still going on in the chattel slavery form in a lot of different parts of the world still, right? But in America specifically, they only changed the way slavery works. So you could say potentially that slavery was abolished and then reconstructed into a new form of slavery, right? Then yeah, that's definitely a point that I can definitely understand and respect. But abolition as a whole, right? The concept of abolition is about changing things. So let's talk about it. I don't see anyone in the request just yet. And I want to hear from people, Uh, do you support abolition? Are you somebody who is pro-abolition? It doesn't have to be police or prison abolition. I know a lot of people are calling for a lot of change in things like the educational system, in healthcare. It's because these particular processes are providing people with less than desirable results. I think we talk about things like the mortality rate for Black women or Black children or Black people as a whole in hospitals. Think about hospitals as a place where people are supposed to be able to get their basic health care needs met. We can talk about the financial difficulties that make it difficult for people to have access. Talk about gender barriers that make it so some medical procedures or some medical needs are not even meetable because of societal rules and structures. We can definitely talk about that. But right now, we're talking about how it is, right, that we have an entire system, right, which is our healthcare system, that disproportionately ensures that some people are killed and some people are not. All right, so let's take our first guest. This is probably a troll, but we'll see. All right, good afternoon.
Hello,
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay, and what are your pronouns?
I'm a Hershey.
Okay, what do you want to, can you answer the questions on the board?
So today I would like to experiment with the drug crack cocaine, and I would like to do so underneath a bridge.
You are not doing anything. Remember, like I said, if you come on the panel and you're trolling or you don't answer the questions, I would just remove you. It's very simple. You know what I mean? Uh, can we please at least acknowledge, right, that some people think, right, that they think that trying to remove my platform is going to offend me. I would like to let you know I've had this TikTok account for I don't know how long, right? And something I've consistently noticed is it doesn't matter where I speak, right? My voice reaches the same people regardless, right? So if you block, if this account gets taken out by TikTok because people like you think that coming and saying words that should be banned, right, in the system, right, are is going to upset me. No, it won't. It will only portray to the world, right, that what I am doing is so important, right, that some people feel the need to come and try and stop me. Remember that. Remember that, right? Whenever it is that you are doing something for the sake of change, and there seems to be an obstinate amount of people consistently trying to hold you down or back, right? It means you're doing something good. Now, there is something to be said of people who are causing harm, right? I have to express at least highlight to people. I have done no harm here. All I have done is ask three questions. One, two, three questions. I have not made any statements about anyone or any particular group of people yet. However, comma, this is very important, however, comma, right? All I have done is ask questions. Now, somebody explain to me, right? Because I feel like questions are my thing. Somebody explain to me why it seems that the simple act of asking people how they feel about abolition, some people are incapable of reading, and that is a different problem, right? Reading is essential, people. However, right, some people think the simple act of me asking people what abolition is, if they support it, and to provide me with some reason as to why they do or do not, right, is such a big thing that needs to be shut down. That's one. Two, fetuses, right, are not human, right? Fetuses are not human. I understand that, right? Nobody is here is anti-abortion, which is a different thing that I brought up earlier, talking about women not having access to their basic healthcare needs because of societal structures and norms, right? I know like this can be a very difficult font to read. I like the font and I will consider changing it to a more legible font if it becomes a consistent issue. However, I wasn't talking about abortion. I was talking about abolition. Thank you. All right. I don't remember what I was going to say next, but I just wanted to, like for people who have a thing to add, I welcome you to the panel. It doesn't have to be contradictory, and I'm always welcome to hear from similar minded people, people with opinions on things. I'm going to be here until 2 p.m. EST. What time is it right now? And then I got more stuff to do today. Yeah, I will be here until 2 p.m. EST. I don't know what time it is for you. I don't know where you are. But if you're on Eastern Standard Time, we're still here for at least an hour and what's that? 35 minutes? Yeah. What's like 22 right now? Yeah, 25 actually. So, um, yeah. So let me see, because I know I prepared some other stuff for y'all in case nobody came in. Uh, Second. Okay. Okay. So according to Northwestern University, if you're like sources and all of that good stuff, right? The abolition is a political vision with the goal of eliminating a system or set of systems and creating lasting alternatives to those systems that were previously in place. When we talk about prison abolition, right? Prison abolition is going to be the political vision, right, with the goal of eliminating imprisonment, policing, and surveillance, and creating alternative systems of accountability for people who exist within society, right? When we talk about abolishing the police, we don't just mean everybody go around and like do crimes. Fun fact, we can all agree, or I wouldn't say all. I think people who are familiar enough with the concept of abolition can agree, right, that crime, the concept of crime, right? Yes, abolish capital, indeed, indeed, right? The concept of crime in our society today is because of the relationship that people have created towards property and ownership, right? I know there's a lot of different things, like assault, battery, that are considered crimes that are not consistent of those relationships to property and possessiveness, right? I want to acknowledge that very much, right? Because I don't want anybody to misquote me, saying that I don't think assaulting people is a bad thing, because that would be silly, right? However, back to the article I was reading. For prison abolition, from where we are now, sometimes it is challenging to imagine what abolition is going to look like. Abolition isn't just getting rid of buildings full of cages. It is also undoing the society we live in because the uh, the needs of people and the oppression of people and inequities through punishment, violence, and controls of millions. Because the people that are incarcerated is not an sorry, the prison industrial complex is not an isolated system. Abolition is a broad strategy. I like that particular statement, right? Oh, abolition is a broad strategy. Right. An abolitionist vision means that we must build models today. Right. And I think one thing that I would try to incorporate, I don't know how to say words, haha, right, into the conversations is um, what are some of those alternative means of societal organization? Right? Like we'll go down the list, right? We talk about how our society is organized, right? We talk about how we lived in a crystal fascist, white supremacist, patriarchal capitalist hellscape, right? So we talk about like how do we work on abolishing uh those oppressive systems, structures. We talk about crystal fascist, uh, what you call it, um, society, right, as a concept. So we talk about how not just Christianity realistically, right, how Abrahamic religion has been used as a tool, to indoctrinate people into the idea, right, of white supremacist and patriarchal norms, right? So you have to understand, right, that you can't do the abolition of patriarchy, right, and white supremacy without also tackling religious ideologies, right? We talk about abolishing racial hierarchies, white supremacy as as an entire whole, right? Then you have to remember, right? Things like fat phobia, things like anti queer sentiment, right? These are baked into, right? These are baked into all of it, right? Talk about why are people experiencing lower life expectancies because they are queer or trans or some combination of being what we describe as basically a non-hetero what's the word I'm looking for here? What's hard today, friends? Like just basically someone who is considered as an other, right? It's because the system is specifically designed, right, to provide access to specific people based on, right, how much they're able to engage with the oppressive systems as part of what perpetuates it, right? So when your entire personhood is already in contrast, in conflict to the system, right? I think that my one of my favorite ones, right? We talk about we'll go to hospitals real quick. One of my favorite ones is medical racism, right? Sometimes, right, is Black people not receiving uh healthcare because the person who is assisting them is a openly violent racist. But in some situations, it is also Black people not being considered when simple medical devices are being designed. Right? Why do we have this very, it seems like a benign example when we talk about pulse oximeters, right? I think is one of the like the it's like it's if you have like a TikTok bingo card, you know what I mean? I know a lot of few of those have been going around for different type of spaces, but if you have like a TikTok bingo card and the conversation is race or racial related issues, I guarantee you the center box will always be medical racism or something about pulse oximeters. Why? Because it is so obviously notable, right? That the fact that not being able to properly or what we call adequately measure the simple health signs of Black people, right, shows us that we live in a society, right, that needs to change, right? The medical system, right, cannot be allowed to exist the way it does. Or we just say we're okay with some forms of racism and some forms of racism worse than others, right? We talk about why are people who are darker skin tone, the ones more likely to experience discrimination in places like schools, where children are supposed to be perceived as innocent, right? Until you find out exactly what the situation is. All the children are supposed to be innocent in that case. However, comma, this is a very important however, comma, this is the second one today, right? Dark-skinned Black children are more likely to experience disciplinary actions even when they are not at fault. Right. So, that's really the basis of abolition, right? Abolition is not, yes, no more prisons, uh, no more police. Not saying that it's not just that. Not saying that it's not that, right? It's not just that. It's the same way when we say, when people talk about things like communism, people say, well, communism is when no iPhone. No, that's not how that goes, right? Yeah, communism might be when there's no Apple, right? I think maybe we should, as people who call ourselves leftists, should engage with that particular point a little bit. Be like, well, I mean, technically, right? Communism isn't when there's no iPhones. Communism is when there's no Apple. Yeah, I like that one. I'm gonna write that one down somewhere and put it somewhere, right? Because we understand that like a company like Apple, right, is a corporate organization, right? That is its purpose is to consolidate the wealth of the tech industry, at least in the field of creating communication devices like phones, iPads, computers, devices that connect to those things, right? It is in the business of consolidating any wealth that is earned in that industry into the hands of the shareholders of Apple. Hence, I think communism can be when there's no Apple. Communism can also be when there's no Microsoft. I think I agree with these terms. Yes, I will talk to the people in this format going forward. Right. But yes. We want to talk about abolition. Abolition is let me do the TikTok debate bro thing. I'm gonna go look up the definition and we'll talk about the definition real quick. No look, Hayden Martin. All right. Let's see. Dictionary definition of abolition. All right. So we're gonna pretend a debate bro is on the panel, right? And we're gonna do the thing. We're gonna play some reindeer games with no reindeers. Okay. So abolition is a noun. Do you guys know what a noun is? A noun is the name of a person, animal, place, or thing. I learned that when I was like 2 years old. Um, the action. So abolition, the action or act of. You can't make this shit up. Okay, so in the dictionary definition, right? In the dictionary definition of the word abolition, right? It says the act of abolishing a system, practice, or institution. I don't know if this is like just me, but when I was a kid, there was this very specific thing that they told me not to do in English class. They said you can't use the word in the definition of itself. That doesn't make any logical sense, right? Because if I let's say let's use another thing as an example. Let's use uh hydration, right? Say what is hydration? Well, hydration, right, is the process of hydrating something. Science, right? Am I right, guys? We're so smart over here. We're geniuses, right? But no, I will get a more comprehensive. Oh man, that was fun. That was a fun little exercise. That was fun. I need to drink some water after that. I do not know why that song is stuck in my head, but um, let's see. What is this? I need to zoom this in. I can't read this. Okay. All right. So I found another, more like an encyclopedia. I think when they define a concept, it isn't really a verb or noun. I understand. I just thought that was funny. I thought that was really amusing. The fact that they had you know the they had the word and definition that threw me off. I like realistically I don't think that should be allowed. But I'm just one person on the internet. I don't run things here. All right. So, what is abolition? Many falsehoods have been told about abolitionists and members of anti-slavery societies, but it's common fairness to hear that they have to say for themselves. Before we enter upon the main question, what is abolitionism? I recently found out about like abolitionism as like a whole. I didn't know that it was like a whole thing. This is just me also just admitting that I'm not the smartest person about everything. It's really hard to not be the smartest person because I like to know stuff. And sometimes when I hear a thing, I gotta go find out about it. And that just listen. You know how people say I went down a rabbit hole? I like to tell people I live in Wonderland. If you understand the reference, you understand the reference. Okay, so we will just state what it is not. And I want to also mention that I would try my best to do less of stating what it is not and try to focus on what it is, because I feel like we try too much to tell people what things are not instead of like just working from what is and forward. But then again, some people need to know what is not because they're ignorant. So I understand it, but I personally don't need to do that. We got it. We got too many teachers, and I don't need to take other people's courses. We will just state what it is not, that the mind of any who have had wrong views may be set right. See, I think this is funny. See what I mean? Like, I like saying things that is going to be said next in the book, in the thing that I'm reading, because I am just a bad person. Um, First, then, abolitionists do not preach. Um, this text is amalgamation. All right, all right. This one might throw you off for a loop, but we're gonna go through it. All right. First, abolitionists do not preach amalgamation or the mixture of the white and colored races. This probably was written in. Let me see. What year was this written? Uh, year published. Yeah. Oh man, the 50s is a weird time. This misrepresentation has been used by our enemies to prejudice people against abolitionists. They would make you believe that our objective is to uh, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to like I have to like rephrase things because this was written before people cared about human beings. I guess I don't know. Is not to flood the. I can't read this. I'm sorry. I'm gonna show y'all why I can't read this. It's just not readable. I apologize, but like I'm doing my best here, and this thing was like I don't know if y'all can see this, but this is an article, right? And I just can't read it. Like I don't know if this is like my eyesight that's bad, or maybe like my camera flip. It did. Her awesome, wonderful. Um, but I can't read this one. I'm gonna find a different thing. Uh, but I was trying to see what other like what people would find when they go into and looked it up, right? Because the experiment that we were doing was like if somebody came on here and they had to go look up the definition of abolition, what would the conversation go like? And unfortunately, this is not looking too good for independent researchers on the concept of abolition right now. I mean, there's a definition that just says the word abolition right back in it, right? And then there's illegible materials that are supposed to be written like before the year 2000. So I'm just sitting here like, what are we doing? Um, okay, let's see. This is a good one. Uh, I once again want to let humans know that you are welcome to request. I promise I'm not scary. That's not true. I'm very scary. Uh, okay, so we have. And so this is from chainlesschange.org, right? They're an abolitionist organization that work mostly in the abolition of prisons and police. But they have a definition here that we can. Thanks for coming, capitalism hater. Hope you have a good day at school. Um, but let's look at let's see what chainlesschange.org has to say about abolition, right? They say many know and believe that there needs to be a deep structural dismantling of how we handle, even think about what we perceive as crime in our country. I talked about this earlier, right? Let's see, someone's in the request. Um, I found a person named Octo. Hello.
Hello, is this the is Ireland racist section?
Once again, it can't be that difficult for you to read the prompt on the background and act accordingly. If you are a child or a troll, um, you should probably be in school. If it's not school time, then you should probably be doing your Kumon or whatever the heck people do on break these days, right? And or getting help. If you're a troll, get help. Get help. Get help. Thank you. All right, we have another person to request. Oh, it's Octo again. Oh, you're a ridiculous little child. You don't need to be here. Go to school. Um, Yeah. Well, I appreciate people in the comments. Feel free to engage with with the conversation in the comments, engage with each other. Right now we're doing a little experiment, right? Because we didn't get any opposition in here. We're gonna see what it would be like to be someone who is slightly ignorant around the conversation of abolition and what it would be like trying to do your own research while we wait for somebody who disagrees or somebody who wants to join the conversation to come up, right? So we're looking at chainlesschange.org. All right, so organizations centered around police prison abolition, right? We were gonna do to see what they have to say about abolition, what they think it is, blah blah blah. What information you can get from interacting with these abolitionists, right? Because we have to remember, right, the best way to learn about something is to go check on the people who are doing it. It's very simple, right? So, say many know and believe that there's a deep need for structural dismantling of how we handle, even think about what we perceive as crime in our country, right? Abolition involves creating a society that exists without imprisonment. Right? It's very important to note to emphasize imprisonment, right? Because law enforcement does not mean imprisonment, right? Societal structures that protect us from harm, not just from ourselves, but from greater societal impacts, do not have to be locking you up in a cell. All right, let's move forward from that. It aims to end the practice of using incarceration, community control, surveillance, and exile as a response to things that are criminalized, right? It seeks to dismantle oppressive systems and institutions like jails, prisons, psychiatric institutions, because we have to remember that is also a form of imprisonment, detention centers, etc. The list goes on and on and on, right? It is an effort to stop over criminalization of blackness. We can talk about that in depth when we have a conversation about anti-blackness, poverty, and behavioral health conditions, right? Because we talk about people who have physical disabilities are slightly different from people who have mental disabilities. Regardless, imprisoning someone for having a mental disability is still what? Ableism, right? Cool. Moving on. Um, let's see. And to instead explore alternatives that create space for transformation. Though true abolition, we seek to build our communities as well as their capacity to provide safety and fairness responses to crimes, right? The movement builds leaders who are trusted and able to make decisions about what is best for their communities, right? I think this is centering more around what to do in in a society where police, prisons, and our current law enforcement systems have been abolished, right? Abolition builds hope and a future in a world where the only response has been isolation and disenfranchisement, right? We talk about people who are put through the carceral system, people who get I don't know if it's just felonies that prevent people from being able to vote. But I know at the very least, people who are incarcerated with felony charges are disenfranchised against, choosing their own leaders in a lot of places. We talk about the mental strain that goes into being incarcerated, the dehumanizing factors that people experience there. I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago. Not fun. It was last year, right? It was last year. Was it last year? Probably this year. I don't know. Time is an illusion anyway, right? When we were talking about incarceration and I personally recently found out that the incarceration rate for women in America has been rising. In fact, has been rising to the point where the rate of increase has exceeded men's incarceration numbers. It's an unfortunate reality that we live in where patriarchal. Now, remember when I talked about Christo fascist, right? White supremacist, patriarchal capitalist hellscape, right? The society that we live in, having those particular core not founding, core structural elements, right? Causes people's oppression to be different depending on how much of an other they are to the ideal uh, person, so to speak, in what our society is currently constructed as, right? But we talk about women being imprisoned for things like child neglect. We see women being and this is very specific, right? Nobody's saying you should neglect your children, right? But the particular cases that I'm talking about, and there's an overwhelming number of them, is because the women who are being incarcerated because the child neglect was reported as a response to the woman reporting her abuse, right? Or um, the child's abuse is reported, right? But because the mother is present in the home and unable to prevent the father from abusing the child, she is also receiving punishment. I think those kind of conversations need to be, had by people who are, I don't know, have more lived experiences around that. I personally only have the lived experiences from the child perspective. And I'm just sitting here like, low key, as an adult person now, I don't think my mom would have been a person that I would have supported being incarcerated for my other people in the family being abusive. Because we talk about patriarchal norms, right? We talk about who is supposed to be protecting everyone, guys. Oh, right, exactly. Now, I don't remember what I was saying. I literally forgot. I feel like I just rambled. Um, Oh, right. Talking about women's prison numbers rising, right? And I personally went and looked into the numbers to see why these numbers are going up and what women are more likely to be incarcerated for. All right. So we already talked about poverty being a big issue. We talk about gender inequity in our society that puts women financially disadvantaged than men, right? And we talk about how people who are trans have a lower life expectancy and have more barriers to society, but also how it's different between black trans people and white trans. It's a whole conversation to be had. However, not right now. Right now, we're talking about abolition. And why it is important to support abolition. Right? Abolition is one of those things that I think I'm going to spend a lot of time committed to educating people on because when we talk about changing things, right, changing things is different from destroying things, right? And I think the problem that people have, right, is that they think like that the word abolition means to destroy something. And I think is that's more I won't say what I think about that. I'm gonna go research it before I make an uneducated statement, right? But I think the deconstruction of our society as it currently exists, right, requires us to identify that the systems that we are currently living within. So we talk about I brought up like educational system, we talk about the healthcare system, we talk about the carceral system, right? You talk about like things as simple as banking in America, right? In the world as a whole, right? Because we know like banking is not something that is isolated to just the United States of America. Everywhere potentially has banks. Fun fact, right? We're talking about abolition is about change. Abolition is about making something different from the way it was before, right? And I brought up uh the the conversation around slavery in America, at least, right? Because I personally don't think slavery was abolished like anywhere, 'cause, like people are still being enslaved. But like some people would argue, right, that because the way that American slavery changed from what is described as chattel slavery to what we call the prison industrial complex today, right? That uh that technically it was abolished from one form of slavery to the other, but I feel like it's still slavery, so we didn't really abolish anything, right? Um, so in a society where we claim to have abolished slavery, people are still being enslaved, and I think that's a little weird. I think that's a little weird, right? Let's see. Uh, It is almost 1 p.m. EST, and I have gotten a zero guests, which means I'm doing too much, and I should probably cut it off early. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go. It's 12:55 p.m. right now, and at 1 EST, I'll be shutting live down. I'll be moving on to the next part of my day. Appreciate everybody who came in. Before I wrap this up, I'm gonna do some closing notes here because have a few things that I wanted to let the wonderful people who follow me, who watch my lives, um, what you call it, know. I'm trying to create like it's me, the Lorax. I'm trying to create like a space for people to have conversations around abolition and solely about abolition without being distracted by non-abolition talk. Um, you hear are you in the request? No, you're not. Okay. Uh, yes. So I'm gonna try and do that, right? So look forward to that. Hold on to your pants. I don't know how phrases go sometimes, but look forward to that. 'Cause I know. Oh, you're just being funny. Okay, cool. I know like TikTok might not be, something that we, at least as Americans, I hate the fact that I can actually say that, and it's true, right? But we as Americans, we might not have access to for a very long time going forward. So I'm trying to make sure that at least the people who I know are, interested in having conversation in good faith and actually interested in maybe doing some work with more than just their mouths. Um, to to have community, to have space, to have the ability to not just interact, exchange ideas, but strategies, and all of those things. So soon gang was that thing that we'd be saying. Um but yeah. Uh let's see. 3 minutes. I think it was something to do for 3 minutes, right? Oh. So I also want to let you all know, right? So there is this guy, right? Right. And this is a random out of left field, right? So there's this guy who's like saying like that he protects uh black women, and through his actions, a lot of hate, antagonism, um disrespect has been directed towards a black woman. And I'm curious. I seriously wonder, is misogyny really a tool that you can use to protect black women? More at six. Um, Now, my final closing notes for the wonderful people of TikTok that watch me and are black people. I'm gonna let you know. I got this message last year. I got this message last year. Last year. So it's fresh. It's fresh. Last year, like 2 weeks ago, right? But I need to let you know, right? That the only person you got to live up to is you, right? And there's only one person that's going to tell you who the best version of you is, and that's still you. If you're black, stay black, and if you're not,